Thank you. My question is, are emotional states contagious?
Well, you're talking about power of influence. And so the obvious answer is yes, because people observe each other. The reason the answer is yes is because most people offer almost all of their vibrational frequency. In other words, they think almost all of their thoughts in response to what they are observing. Most people are not yet very adept at finding a vibrational frequency and identifying it, isolating it, and presenting it deliberately. Most people are sort of all over the place. And so if someone stands before you who you deem in harmony with you, and is someone who's loving you or approving of you, and you are holding them as your object of attention, then how they feel could affect the way you feel. So of course there is influence all around.
So what is the degree of that influence, like in a family dynamic or a cultural dynamic?
Well, we can give you a really easy way to understand this. Strong influence comes about basically in two ways. The first way is most common in human experience, and it's not the one that we are recommending so much, but it is just a long-standing attitude by someone that you're observing over a long period of time. And so as that person believes and pontificates, you come to do the same. But there is another influence that is the one that we really want to talk about. In fact, it's really the basis of everything that we want to discuss here today. And that is that we talked about your inner being, and we talked about you being an extension of that. So we're talking about this source energy and the opinion of this source energy. So when you in any moment are in vibrational alignment with your inner being, with your source, when you are, in better words, under the influence of that source energy, when there's no resistance within your thought process, and therefore you have allowed your vibration to rise to the vibrational level of your own inner being so that you and your inner being are one. Oh, the leverage in that kind of alignment is indescribable, and your power of influence then is huge. When you stood before Jesus dripping your illness, he didn't see your illness, instead he knew your wellness. And he knew it in concert with all that he was, with all of the source energy that he had discovered ways to stay in alignment with. And so when he was observing you, not just was he in the physical body observing you, all that he really is, all of that God force is observing you too. And because there was no resistance in his vibration whatsoever, his power of influence was huge, and the likelihood of you benefiting by his knowledge of your well-being was tremendous.
Okay. So in my family, the type of family I come from, we're very, like, it's full of bishops, preachers, singers. I was a praise and worship singer myself, and I enjoyed it emotionally. I just didn't really want to do it anymore. And I felt better just singing like pop music, you know, because it made me more happier. A lot of the gospel songs tend to have a little like underlying sadness behind it. So when I was discussing...
Well, most religions are pushing to some extent against things.
Right.
And their songs reflect that too.
Right.
And so even in the singing, there's split energy.
Okay. So when I basically, I guess, started coming out and just saying, listen, I don't want to go to church anymore. I appreciate what you're doing. That's your life. That's fine. It's like I got this resistance, and my question is, am I like soliciting that out of them by how I feel, or?
Let's talk about this. It's a big topic in the room. Let's chew this over just a little bit. Of course, they're responding to you because that's what most people do. And when you say, I don't want to go to church anymore, since you're saying that to people who believe that church is the pathway to God, then what they hear you say is that you don't want God anymore.
That's exactly what they said.
And so you could choose better words. You're not in any way denying or defying God. You just happen to believe that you have a direct relationship with all of that. And a lot of religions don't want to hear that from nobody, because they don't want you to have a direct relationship. They want to control that gateway. And they want you to be then dependent upon their gateway. And that's what your resistance is. And they know it, and they don't like it.
Right. I just felt like I don't know. I didn't. My mom, she would ask. She loves me and she's very sweet, but she would. We'll just have a casual conversation, and just out the blue, would say, "Well, Jerry, do you still love Jesus?" And I would say, "Mom, I just kind of avoid it." And then I said, "No, we need to have a talk." And then I just had a talk with her, and then it was almost like in her mind, like I was, going to spend eternity in hell, and she was just sad, all this nonsense. But then I felt like it had a lot more to do with underlying, like, control. Like, I can't control what you believe.
When people say to you, "I'm praying for you," you can know pretty well that they've already judged you. And that the news isn't good. And the reason that they sound so sad when they do it is because they don't believe in their own prayers. If they believed in their own prayers and they say, "I'm praying for you, and everything's going to be all right with you," but they don't, "I'm praying for you. I'm praying for you."
Right, okay.
There's a lot to talk about here. Yes,
I want to ask you something about Napoleon Hill.
Before you do,
sure.
Let's stay here just for a little
Yes.
bit. If you are, when you are, and you often are, in tune with the whole of who you are, under the influence of your own source energy, and you are with someone whom you love so much, like your mother, and she's worried about you and you're wanting to soothe her worry, in that situation you can be under the influence of your inner being who isn't worried, or under the influence of your mother who is worried. That's why we said there's two influences, and the one that's been coming from your mother is sort of active in your vibration. And so if you're under the influence of the vibration that your mother is offering, then you feel defensive, then you feel like you've got to take a stand.
I'm on the wrong side of the stream.
You are, for sure. And then your words don't soothe her, they inflame her, they make her worry more. But consider this: if you're under the influence of source energy, and you know that you're in the vibration of all of that pure positive energy, then different words come from you, like, "Mom, I so love my childhood and the energy," or whatever word will appeal to her, "the environment in which you nurtured me. And I love so much that you gave me this basis of understanding that we are so much more than what we see here in the flesh. You caused me to look to God. You caused me to understand that there is God. You caused me to want connection with that. You caused me to want to be good, Mom, and I still do. I still do. And you gave me, through all that you offered me, access to that love that Jesus said is offered to all of us all the time. And I do not believe that he wanted me to be in that church to receive his love. I think I get it through my music. I think I get it in the playground. I think I get it through sports. I get it from all the places that it is offered. So please don't box me off or box him off with a narrower view of what that is than I happen to have. I'm not asking you to worry about me because I don't think there's any need. I believe that when we are joyful, we are in alignment with all that is good. And I'm joyful, Mom. And I thank you for your part in my joy. Well, we promise you she's not going to say, I'll pray for you. She'll hear that. And here's the most important thing. You've got to trust your mother in this way. When you are in tune with who you really are and speaking from that vibrational point of view, your dear mother, who wants that so much, will feel the resonance from you. She'll feel the truth of what you say. And she cannot be worried and know that at the same time.
It's kind of funny you said that, because it's like I never get a phone call generally over just general information, but when things that really get bad, I can tell they call me. And even my brother, he said that, I tell people if I just want to feel better, I just call my brother. And so here's the point that we're really wanting to make. We made it, you heard it, but we're going to make it one more time.
This hasn't got anything to do with where they are and what they think about you. They're all doing just fine. What it has everything to do with is what influence are you under when you have your conversation with them. That's all. And if you're tuned in, tapped in, turned on, Esther's mother, when Esther began receiving us, the first thing she wanted to do was call her parents, and we said, not a good idea. And Esther really wanted to, because she was so excited about what was happening. And so we explained to her that it would be a lot for them to understand, and that maybe she should just give it a little bit of time. And then she went home, and she was at the typewriter, and she was receiving some book dictation from us. And Esther types really fast anyway, and when we blow through her, she really types fast. And her father's standing over her shoulder reading what's coming up, and he says, what is this? Esther thought, oh, he's asking the question. This is a perfect opportunity to explain to them what I've got going on with Abraham. And her father said, just don't go over the deep end. And her mother tried to exorcise us from Esther. It was too much for them to understand. Now, as time went by and they were able to feel and hear the joyful life that Esther was living, they stopped worrying. And as they stopped worrying, then Esther could have a conversation here and there, but she never ever tried to explain the whole of it. She just said things to them like, thank you so much for my childhood, and thank you so much for everything that I experienced with you, and thank you for your love, and those kinds of things. And then every now and again, when they were all under the influence, Esther would slip something in, and her father would say, yep. And then the most telling thing was what you just said. They all came to her for counsel. They didn't want to talk to Abraham. That's too weird. But Esther, what do you think about?
Right.
Do you feel like a victim?
I am on the way out of it.
That's a really good thing to ask yourself, because if you feel like a victim, the universe will victimize you. People that you don't even know will victimize you. But if you feel sure, and if you feel good, and if you feel on top of this, and if you know who you are, and if you've got your inner being flowing with you, and you feel solid, then that's the way the universe treats you. Because cooperative components are being gathered around however you feel. And there's no one who doesn't understand why you would feel that way. It's just not good for you. It just doesn't serve you. And no victim ever gets even. You never get even. There's no bottom to that. So right now, you have more control than later. So what do you want as your future experience? You want to push against these two forever? You want to teach your children how to push against them? You want them to be the reason that they're not in alignment with source? You want that to be the reason that your children don't even know about their own guidance system? You want that to be the reason that your children don't have a guidance system that's active, and so they can't tell what they really want to do? Do you want to catch it while you can? It's amazing that you're even close to this. You're going to catch it while you can, and then.
There's a potential regret of feeling. I'm trying to clear with you, if I may. The reason I want to continue to save my marriage is I want to be able to tell my children and myself I have done everything possible. So I won't have any regret.
Well, tell them that now, because you have. And then we would like you to tell your children, life is an adventure. And there are so many experiences in life, and every one of them gives us clarity, and we take a bounce. And everything that happens, we become sure and clearer and more. And sometimes when things happen, we don't think we want them to. But when we get down the road a little bit, then we can see clearly the value of it. And so this is not a bad thing that's happening. Even though it feels like it is, this is not a bad thing that is happening.
Thank you.